Hello everybody and welcome back to another video all about the League of Dracula. And in this one it's just a little roundup video because it's been a while since I've done one of these discussion videos with you talking about the results. And well, the League of Dracula, the World Championship for Fury of Dracula Digital Edition 2023 is now over. And if you look at the league table of the 5 finalists, which is on the screen right now, you'll see that we have a world champion, Pizza Wizard. Congratulations to Pizza Wizard, adding the world championship title to his US championship title that he won back in the spring. So massive congratulations to Pizza Wizard. Very well done, very well done. And yeah, we're going to have to potentially organise an exhibition match between the two of us at some point, aren't we? So yeah, very well played. Well, very well done, first of all, to all the competitors, especially the final 5 who made it into the league. The final league there, very impressive stuff all round. It was very close at the top between Pizza Wizard and Makajic, but Pizza Wizard managed to win the final game, and that was enough to end Makajic's 100% winning record on Dracula, and to claim the championship with a very impressive IDS total there as well. Very good, 6-2, very good record after 8 games, that's for sure, and very impressive IDS too. So it's very close between Pizza Wizard and Makajic there. All came down to the final game, which is what you like to see. So yeah, yeah, well played to the other 3. Philly, very respectable, 5 out of 3. 5 wins, 3 losses out of 8. Very good stuff. Met King and Gyro had a little bit of a rougher time, but we saw them earlier on in the tournament. They played exceptionally well to get out of their groups, and then Met King to get through the second stage. So absolutely no criticism their way at all. Played extremely well, and this is the final. These are the 5 best players in the community right now. So they all thoroughly deserved their place in the final league. All played extremely well. But yeah, Pizza Wizard is the champion. He's the one to beat. He's painted the target on his back now. Everyone will want to have a game with Pizza Wizard and to try and beat him. So yeah, very well played. Well done. So yeah, I thought quickly do a video for you, just chatting about stats and things and my thoughts. So that's the league table. I will quickly change the screen to, there we go, got a PDF here of the stats, and I'll quickly scroll through. This is all from the first stage. Let's go right to the bottom. Oh, there we go. Here's I'm getting all the results now from the final stage. And you see quite a lot of Dracula wins. Oh, sorry, quite a lot of Dracula wins, which is not what we would expect, really. We were expecting a lot more Hunter wins than this. Actually, Dracula got more wins in the final league, which is highly unusual. But you'll see that quite a lot of the games have quite big winning margins. You see here, like Dracula win 15 HP, Dracula win 15 HP. Here, like for example, Hunter win, 0 influence, Hunter win 0 influence, and so on. It's there's some very, these IDS figures here on the right hand side is like our scoring system that we use. Wins and losses are the most important, but IDS is like the secondary scoring system. And you see there's some quite big numbers in here, either positive or negative, which shows that the results were, in terms of score, not that close, but probably that doesn't really reflect, maybe how the game went. There's some really close ones in here too. Look, 2-1. These two at the bottom, -1-1, very, very close victories for the Hunters and Dracula there. So yeah, a little bit of everything. Very impressive stuff. I'm going to show you very quickly the final stats and everything for the win rates. If you want to go and watch any of the matches from the final league or any other parts of the competition, you can do so. There's a playlist in the description of this video, and you can check out the ones that we recorded. So here we go. So these are all the stats that are recorded. Number of Hunter wins and number of Dracula wins in each group, in each stage, and the average influence and final Dracula HP. So the headline figure is that overall across the whole competition, Hunter's got a 51.6 win rate. So, still very close, only, only 2 difference from having, 50%. So it's very, very, very close indeed. This win rate for the Hunters has been slowly trending upwards. I think in the first tournament we did was about 48%, In the second tournament was 50%, and now it's up to around 51.5, 52%. So we'll see if it keeps increasing or not. That'd be very interesting. Possibly, but you see there's like some things in the final league, for example. Dracula got a lot of wins, which we wouldn't expect necessarily. I know it's only one away from the average of 50%, but still to have as many Dracula wins as that. Whereas in the second stage, there weren't. The Hunters had a few more wins. It's all kind of over the place, but the average averages out to this. There's probably a lot of nuance hiding in here. I haven't gone through it all yet. I need to try and sit down and look at in each group, does it make a difference in terms of what position you finished in the group? If that was Hunter wins or Dracula wins or so on. There's also other stats that we collected for the first time, because unfortunately the digital edition doesn't give us a lot of useful stats at the end of the game. So we had to ask some players to record some stuff. So the main things that we recorded, the things we recorded were, did the Hunters have Consecrated Ground, and whether or not they used it or not, and then if they won because of it. How Dracula was revealed, and how many Hunters died during the game and how many vampires matured during the game, because I thought that would be easier than having to count it. What I really love to see would be trying to work out how many, what would be the distribution of all the different ways that Dracula can get influence. Reckless Vampire Fangs attacks if it's an ambush. Biting a hunter, killing a hunter, what other ways? Fury of Dracula in the 4th week, and so on. And vampires maturing. What would be the distribution of those points? That'd be a really, I think, quite a cool thing to see. My gut feeling would be that most of the points, the majority of the points, I'm not saying all of them, but the majority, the biggest portion of the points would come from the 4th week, but that's just my opinion. But that was very hard potentially to keep track of. Something that I would really like us to do, or maybe something that they could change the digital edition, so that stuff is calculated automatically. That would be really nice. So yeah. And what else? I also just asked the players to record any extra information that they found was interesting. So I'm going to go through that over the next few weeks and sort of pick it apart and see if we can kind of learn anything from it or not. I think it'd be quite interesting to see how often newspaper reports actually reveal Dracula. I think that'd be kind of an interesting thing to see. But yeah, and also then how early as well, and also then how that might affect win rate. But I've got to go and sit through and work out all the devil will be in the detail, so to speak. But I'm going to have to go out and pick it all apart. So yeah, once I've done that over the next couple of weeks or so, if I've got time to do so, I've got a lot of things going on, I'll be able to bring out another video talking about it. So yeah, that's the headline figure. 52% win rate for Hunters, 48% for Dracula. Still very, very close, and yeah, we'll take it from there basically and see what happens. So yeah, I'm already starting to think about what the next tournament could be. Obviously, it's not going to be this year because we haven't got much of the year left, so we're definitely going to be looking in the spring. There's a couple of ideas I've got floating around my brain, one of which could be that, because in this competition, in case you don't know, all the players had to play as Hunters and Dracula, so you had to play against each opponent twice. So what we're thinking of doing maybe is have a, the player can pick what side they want to be at the beginning of the tournament, and they only play that faction. So then you have two separate leaderboards, a Hunter one and a Dracula one. The thing with that would be is, the big sort of sticking point with that would be we'll have to have an equal number, more or less, on each leaderboard. If it's a little bit different, we had to make it work. We wouldn't be able to have, 500 players and 10 Dracula players. It'd be kind of silly. So we'll have to see. I'm going to have to gauge, community interest in that. And the other thing is, I don't know yet, but I'm hoping that over Christmas we're going to get quite, a big influx of new players into the community. And something that was pointed out to me by one of the members of our community was that it might be quite nice to do a tournament for the new blood, like newcomers to the community, and they can get a little bit more sort of practice. But then, the high level players can then maybe commit a bit of time in terms of doing post game analysis and all this sort of stuff. So that's something that if we've got quite a big influx of players over Christmas time, then it's something that we could do. We could do like a new blood competition kind of thing where newcomers can sign up, or if you've played in the existing, the previous tournaments, but your win rate was a little bit low, say below 50%, then you would be eligible. And we can maybe set up like a little prize for the winner. Would be like if you got the top position, then you would maybe, as a reward, you would get top seeding for the next World Championship or something like that. In terms of the structure of the new World Championship, it will take place probably autumn next year. Who knows? I'm not sure yet. I think the tournament we had this year was had a little bit more jeopardy built into it. In the previous tournament, we had 2 stages. So we had 3 groups of 7 players each, and then in those groups, everyone had to play each other twice. It was only then the top 3 that progressed into the final league. But then one of those third place players got eliminated if their win record wasn't good enough compared to the other 2. And then we'd have a final league of 8. This time it was a final league. It should have been a final league of 6. But unfortunately, one player had to drop out. But it was a final league of 6. There were 4 groups at the beginning, which only had 5 players each. The first player in each group automatically went through to the final league. And then the second and third players had to go into another stage, and the fourth and fifth players got eliminated. So the benefit that I saw from this was that there was more jeopardy in the first stage. There was actually something worth fighting for to try and get into first place. You weren't just trying to get into the top 3 spaces. Alternatively, then also, if you're a player who unfortunately wasn't doing too well, then you wouldn't have to sit through like loads of meaningless matches that didn't matter. You were able, the first stage finished fairly quickly. But maybe what we could do next time is have it, a little bit different, where we still keep the format of keeping smaller groups, so the stages themselves are finished quicker. But what we can do is, instead of making a situation where there's a bye into, the second stage, the first place players jumped straight through into the final league, what we could do is have a situation where, say, there are 3 stages, or maybe 2 stages, but in the first stage, it's filled with the less experienced players and the players with a lower seeding, a lower ranking based upon previous performances, and then they can all play amongst each other, and then the top players can get introduced. Say for example the 5 finalists who we've got, from this competition, and then maybe the winner of the New Blood competition or something. They could then get automatic entry to the second stage, and then they get mixed in with the less experienced players who have progressed, or maybe nobody gets eliminated. Maybe then they all just play against each other, and then someone goes through. We'll have to see. Well, I'm open to different ideas, or maybe we'll do some sort of Swiss style tournament. I'm not sure. We'll play it by ear. I'm open to different ways of doing things. I think for the World Championship, I'm not going to change it. And obviously, if I'm not in charge, then whoever's in charge can do what they want. But if I was in charge of it, I'd still say, if you're going to be world champion, to carry that name, I think you'd have to be able to. You have to play as both Hunters and Dracula. I'm not saying you have to be the best at both necessarily, but you're the most consistent player. I think that would be kind of important. But then I'm willing then in the spring tournaments that we can mix it up a little bit. We don't have to do a regional European competition and an American competition like we did last year. We can do something a bit different, and we can maybe introduce a little bit of house ruling, and we'll see what we can do. But I'm open to suggestions as always. So if you're watching this and you're from the community, or you're not from the community, but you want to put your 2 cents in, or you're thinking of joining or whatever, then feel free to leave comments in below. Also, again, I'm also open to maybe doing sort of like a cup style competition. The issue with that would have to do it as best of 3s, most likely, rather than a best of 2, because then it makes the second match almost worthless if the results go a certain way. So you would have to do it as a best of 3, and then the problem is then what time scale do you give people to play best of 3s? You can't do it in 1 week, because at the moment I think 2 games per week is kind of the maximum that people can reasonably expect it to do. So then you have to play 3 games across a 2-week period, but then you're losing, 1 game every week, instead of playing 4 games a week, having to play 3. So then you're losing those games. So it just depends. But obviously the competition might go quicker if it's all cup based. So I don't know. I'm open to suggestions as always. Maybe we'll maybe mix and have a league and then a cup style. Something else that somebody said, which I think is quite a nice idea, is if we still did the league structure like I showed before, but instead of the person who comes top of the league being the automatic champion, you can maybe have the top 2 in that final league, then have to play a best of 3 against each other. And then it'll create a proper championship match that we can stream and show on YouTube or on Twitch or however we're going to do it. It's just been coincidence now the last two World Championships we've done, the top 2 players have ended up playing in the final week. But next time it might not happen that way. So yeah, I think that's something that we could look at, and I think for the 2 players, then they could organize it with a little bit of flexibility when they want to play it, and especially if the rest of the tournament is a little bit shorter. So now we finished this tournament. The final date should have been the 10th of December, but all the games got played by Monday. I think was the final date, Monday the 4th. So so we got quite a lot of time still until Christmas. It could easily be done. Across a couple of weekends that were left, you could have done best of 3 if they had wanted to spread it out across 2 weekends. You could easily do that. So I think that's something we could look at. So yeah, I think that's the thing with these tournaments. They're going to be a work in progress as we just slowly think about the structure and change it, and that's absolutely fine. It's just part of the we're still we're only 18 months into this kind of journey. So we're still learning as we go along. So before I finish up this video, I just want to chat a little bit about kind of things that we've learned from the tournament. There's probably loads of other things too, but these are just the things I can think of on the top of my head. But no doubt, if there's anybody here who's been watching the matches or were competing and you want to leave your thoughts below, then I'll be really happy to read them and comment and whatever. So the ones that I've kind of been thinking of is kind of going back to what I was saying before about the win rates and things. I was worried that with the more sort of videos that are out there, kind of being educational tools for people to learn how to play hunters and play the game in general, I was worried that the hunter win rate would kind of eventually just start to overtake, and it is starting to overtake a little bit. But I think something that's been shown in this tournament, especially from watching Wakajic play and then other players started catching on to that, is that Dracula does have a lot of sort of strength, which was sort of previously unexploited, especially in terms of the lair strategy and playing more aggressive. Sometimes as Dracula, if you just try to just run away all the time, the hunters will just outrun him in terms of like having all the events in hand. If you force them into really awkward situations, then you're able to win. So I think Dracula has a lot of there's a lot of potential there that's kind of generally speaking, quite untapped. So that's something I think now, especially now the I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing for Wakajic, because now the secret's kind of out a little bit and people can learn from the recordings. But it's going to be very interesting to see potentially how the meta might shift in terms of how if Dracula's skill is able and Dracula's potential is able to be sort of exploited and achieved, then how's that going to change sort of like the meta in terms of playing and everything. I think it'll come down to that, it's like always, you have to be adaptable, but I think then Dracula have a few more sort of, it can be a little bit more threatening, and that will just make playing hunters even more difficult, which will then help, balance out the win rates a bit. I think the other thing that we've really learned from this tournament, you kind of saw it from the final league table, out of those, well, even, before one of the players dropped out, we had 6 players in the final league. 5 of them had never played in tournaments before. And only really out of all of them, one of them, Captain Gyro, had been in the community for quite a long time. All the others have joined the community much more recently. Peter Wizard was the only one who was like more experienced. I'll use experience quote unquote, like a little bit more sort of the old guard, not the old guard, but Peter Wizard's been there since the previous, the very first tournament that we did. So I think that really will give a lot of confidence to new players, that with a little bit of dedication and devotion to the game and be able to practice a little bit beforehand, you can really take it to the old guard. I think there's that kind of thing where the new players are coming in and they're playing a lot because they're enthusiastic about the game, and then you've got maybe slightly older players perhaps who played a lot of the game before and are only coming back in for tournaments, but then they are struggling a little bit. So it also goes to the fact that practice can go quite a long way for an experienced player, just to keep that sort of that cog turning and just keep that skill level up. I've noticed, I haven't been playing much recently. I am very rusty. I know that it's in there. I've just got to play a little bit more often. That's what happens when I'm more focused on commentating and real life stuff, and then also playing Wingspan. Then Fury of Dracula falls apart. But if I'm going to compete again, then yes, I will be back and play Fury of Dracula fairly regularly. I think as new players, I don't think, as a new player you can be scared about coming into competitions, because if you've got that little bit of potential, a little bit of dedication there, and you've been checking out previous videos and practicing and chatting to people in the Discord community, you can really do well in the tournaments, and you can exceed your expectations. So yeah, there's definitely there's no easy games anymore where you see, all right, this player's a new player, we'll be able to beat them easily. Nope. And you saw that with the number of new players who are in the final league, and even then, when you look at when I compare, the league tables from last year's World Championship and then this one, just the ability of even the players who didn't manage to qualify for the second stage in this one, they still put up a really good fight. And maybe at the beginning they found it a little bit tough, but they found their feet quite quickly, and then by the end they'll pick up a couple of wins. So then they'll be, the next time there's another tournament around with a little bit of practice, they'll be ready for it. So yeah, I think new players can take a lot of heart out of this. If you're watching this and you've never been in our Discord community before, please come and join us and play a little bit with us, and then you could find yourself being world champion perhaps, or at least competing in the final stage. So yeah, so it's definitely a case of new players come in, they're playing a lot, and they're learning very quickly now, especially thanks to a lot of the resources which are available. But just in general, then that constant practice is then overcoming sort of the experience skill gap in that sense. And yeah, the old guard have got a bit caught out by it. But we'll see if that continues into later tournaments, or maybe the old guard can make a comeback. We'll have to see. The other thing, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, in terms of if the Dracula players if the Dracula player becomes, or the Dracula play, I should say, starts becoming more aggressive, then is Hunter meta going to change a little bit because of that? We saw that a little bit, especially with Hunter starts. Pizza Wizard was employing a slightly different setup where Seward's position was moving a little bit. We saw some things where they're doing the superhero start, as it's called, where instead of having Gadami and Mina together, then suddenly Seward and Gadami are together, and Mina's on her own. As Dracula's starting locations have been starting to switch around a little bit, is that then going to affect then how the Hunters play? It's going to be very, especially in terms of their starting position. I don't think the way the Hunters play necessarily is going to change. They might value different items a little bit more. I know JB Philly was using dogs, and it was actually being quite effective. So I think, that'll be interesting to see if there's going to be very small shifts in that. It'll be interesting to see, and I encourage, especially, anybody, but I want people to be, kind of inventive with it, and to try things out, and in this downtime between tournaments, you can really learn something new from it. It'd be very interesting. In terms of other things, I mean, I'm trying to think back. I've looked at so many games now. I was going to put a quick mention in for Vienna. Normally a starting location for the Hunters, but in terms of Dracula, I think it became the MVP location of the tournament. I think there are quite a few really nasty wolf forms through Vienna, especially earlier on in the competition, that really caught Hunters off guard. There's some I think in general there's quite a lot of tricksy play going on. I think that might be some of the results that you're seeing, that there's quite sort of swingy matches, but I think a lot of Dracula players are kind of realizing that they have to start taking risks. If they start playing safe, they're just not going to win. So they were trying to play the more tricksy moves, and sometimes it worked out, and we saw, and other times it didn't. But that's just part of the game. And I think sometimes you have to play the odds a little bit, and you have to chance it. There's some really cool stuff going on. So at the moment, that's all I've got in my mind. I know it's not been a very focused video, but I think over the new year and stuff, I'll be able to sort of process things a little bit better. Or maybe, as people leave comments in here below, there'll be lots of things that I haven't been able to think of. But just to let you know, as well, as a little plug, next weekend, on Saturday the 16th, there is going to be a special match. The 5 finalists are going to be playing a match all with each other. All these matches will be done in this tournament in 1v1. Well, the 5 finalists are all going to play Pizza Wizard as champion, obviously, is going to be as Dracula, and all the others are going to be as Hunters, and all going to team up together. So I am going to stream, and Roscoe is going to co-commentate with me. We're going to live stream the match from our perspective, so we're going to just see the chaos unfold just from the spectator's view. But then immediately after the game is finished, Met King, who's organising it all, who's one of the finalists, Met King is going to release on his channel his perspective of the match, and obviously then you're going to hear the Discord call with all of the players in it and all the carnage and chaos that ensues and all the banter and everything. So just so you know, that's happening next Saturday. I'm hopefully going to get the timing right. 3:30 in the afternoon UTC time. So that will be 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. I think that's right. So yeah, if not, I'll put something in my can't think what I'm trying to say. I'll put something in my community post or my community tab near the time to remind you. But yeah, that's happening. So please come in and join the live stream. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be really funny to see a 5-player match. I think that might only be the second 5-player match I've ever seen recorded from our community. I did one just for fun last Christmas. I don't think there's been another one since, or even before. So that's going to be really fun to hear them all chatting amongst each other. And obviously in the live stream, I'm going to have Roscoe with me, and that's always good fun anyway. So yeah, that's that. That's what's been happening. So yeah, again, apologies for having a little bit of a messy video here, but since the tournament ended, I didn't want to leave this too long. I wanted to bring the final sort of results and things to you. But yeah, congratulations again to Pizza Wizard and to all the finalists. They all played exceptionally well and brought us some very good games. And thank you for everybody who's involved with the tournament, streaming the games, commentating, organizing, playing. It's all been, and just people who've been watching and commenting and checking out the live streams has been fantastic stuff. So yeah, as I said, any videos you want to watch, they're in the description, and in a special playlist, and they'll always be there. They're not going to disappear, so you can go and check them out if you're practicing for another tournament at some point. So yeah, any thoughts, please leave them below. Love to hear them, and yeah, I'll release something in due course about all the stats for the tournament. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for checking out the League of Dracula, and I'll see you in another video very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye.